I should have known something was wrong when my mother called me 3 weeks before Christmas and asked, "You're okay with a small celebration this year, right, sweetheart?" That's not what happened at all. What actually happened was so much worse, and it completely shattered the image I had of my family. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Let me tell you how I spent Christmas morning sitting alone in my apartment, staring at my phone, while my entire family celebrated without me and didn't even bother to tell me I wasn't invited. My name is Vanessa, and I'm 32 years old. I've always been the dependable one in my family, the daughter who called every Sunday, who remembered everyone's birthdays, who drove 4 hours each way to help my parents repaint their kitchen last summer. My brother Garrett is 5 years younger than me, and for most of our lives, we've had that typical sibling dynamic. We weren't super close, but we weren't enemies either. Or at least, that's what I thought. The first sign that something had shifted came in early November. I was at my parents' house for Sunday dinner, something I did twice a month religiously. Garrett had recently moved back home after his third failed business venture, some cryptocurrency thing that I never fully understood. He was sitting at the dining table with his laptop, and my mother was literally bringing him coffee while he worked. "Garrett's got such an innovative mind," my mother said, setting the mug down carefully beside his computer. "He just needs the right opportunity." I was literally standing at the sink, washing the dishes from the meal I'd helped cook. "That's great," I said, trying to keep the edge out of my voice. "What's the new project?" "Consulting," Garrett said without looking up, "helping businesses optimize their digital presence." He'd been home for 6 weeks and hadn't paid rent once. But sure, innovative. "Vanessa, honey, could you make sure you get the corners of that pan?" my mother asked. "It's my good one." I scrubbed harder. This was fine. This was just my mother being my mother. She'd always babied Garrett a little more. He was the youngest, the only son. I'd made peace with that years ago. Except I hadn't. Not really. I'd just gotten very good at pretending. 2 weeks later, I stopped by my parents' house unannounced on a Saturday. I'd been Christmas shopping nearby and picked up this beautiful cashmere scarf for my mother. Deep burgundy, her favorite color. It was expensive, way more than I usually spent, but she'd had a tough year with her hip surgery, and I wanted to do something special. I used my key to let myself in. I'd had one since college, and my parents always said I should use it, that their home was my home. But when I stepped into the living room, I found my mother, my father, and Garrett all sitting together with papers spread across the coffee table. They looked up at me like I'd interrupted something sacred. "Vanessa," my father said, and there was something in his tone I'd never heard before. Not quite annoyance, but close. "We weren't expecting you." "I was in the neighborhood," I said, holding up the shopping bag. "Got you something, Mom." "That's sweet, honey." She didn't get up. She didn't even ask to see it. "We're actually in the middle of something important right now. Family business." Family business. I was standing right there, and she'd called it family business, like I wasn't family. "Oh," I said. The word came out smaller than I intended. "Do you need me to... should I come back?" Garrett shifted uncomfortably. At least he had the decency to look a little guilty. "We're just working on some stuff with the house. Nothing exciting." But I could see the documents on the table. I could see the letterhead from their financial advisor. And I could see my mother's hand move, just slightly, to cover something with her palm. "Right," I said. I'll leave this in the kitchen." I left the scarf on the counter and drove home with my hands shaking on the steering wheel. Something was happening, something they didn't want me to know about, and the not knowing felt like insects crawling under my skin.
I called my best friend Mira that night. We'd been friends since college, and she was the kind of person who would tell you the truth even when it hurt. "They're probably refinancing or something," she said, but I could hear the doubt in her voice. You know how parents get weird about money stuff. Then why exclude me? I asked. I'm 32 years old. I have a master's degree and a career. It's not like I'm going to throw a tantrum about their mortgage. Unless it's not about their mortgage, Mira said quietly. Unless it's about something else. That possibility sat in my chest like a stone for the next 2 weeks. Then came the phone call I mentioned at the beginning, the one that should have been my first real warning. My mother called me on a Tuesday evening, right as I was leaving work. I remember because I was standing in the parking garage, keys in hand, and the fluorescent lights were giving me a headache. "Hi, sweetheart," she said, and her voice had that artificially bright quality that meant she was about to say something I wouldn't like. "I wanted to talk to you about Christmas." My stomach dropped. "Okay." "Well, with everything going on, we're thinking of keeping it small this year. Very low-key. You understand, don't you?" Everything going on? What did that mean? My father's retirement was going fine. My mother's hip had healed, unless she meant Garrett living at home, but that seemed like a reason to make Christmas bigger, not smaller. "Small is fine," I said carefully. "Do you want me to bring anything? I was thinking of making that cranberry bread you love." There was a pause, just a half second too long. "Actually, why don't you wait on that? I'll let you know what we need." "Mom, it's Christmas. Our family Christmas. I'm not waiting for an assignment like I'm some kind of guest." "Don't be dramatic, Vanessa." And there it was, that tone that made me feel like I was being unreasonable for having feelings. "I'm just saying we're keeping it simple. I'll call you with details." But she didn't call with details. Not that week. Not the next week. By December 20th, I still hadn't heard anything concrete about timing or plans. When I tried calling, I got voicemail. When I texted, I got short responses. "Still figuring things out. You know how chaotic the holidays are. Talk soon." I drove to their house on December 22nd. I didn't call first. I just showed up, the same way I'd done 100 times before, because they were my parents, and this was my family, and I was tired of feeling like I was begging for scraps of information. My father answered the door. He actually looked shocked to see me, which should have been my second warning sign, or maybe my 10th. I'd lost count by then. "Vanessa, is everything okay?" "Is everything okay?" I repeated. "Dad, it's 4 days until Christmas, and nobody will tell me what's happening. I feel like I'm going crazy." He stepped out onto the porch and pulled the door mostly closed behind him, blocking me from entering. My own father was physically blocking me from entering the house I grew up in. "This isn't a good time," he said quietly. "Your mother's resting and we've got a lot going on." "Then tell me what's going on." My voice cracked. I hated that it cracked. "I'm your daughter. Why are you shutting me out?" "We're not shutting you out." But he wouldn't meet my eyes. "It's just complicated right now. Family stuff." There was that phrase again. Family stuff. Like I was outside the family now? I am family. Or did I miss the memo where I got disowned? "Don't be ridiculous." He ran his hair through his hair, thinner than I remembered, more gray. When had he gotten so old? "Look, just give us some space this Christmas, okay? Let us have a quiet one. You can do your own thing, maybe go see Mira or—" "My own thing?" I said it flatly. "On Christmas?" "You're an adult, Vanessa. You don't need us hovering over you anymore." But I could see past him. Through the gap in the door, I could see the living room, and it was decorated. Not simple. Not low-key.
The tree was massive, covered in lights and ornaments. There were stockings, 4 of them, 1 for each family member, including me. So they weren't canceling Christmas. They weren't keeping it small. They just didn't want me there. I left without another word. What was there to say? I drove home in a daze. And that night I did something I'm not proud of. I called Garrett directly. He'd been avoiding my calls for weeks, but this time he picked up. Probably because I called from Mira's phone, so he wouldn't recognize the number. "Hello?" "It's me," I said. "Don't hang up." Silence. Then, "Vanessa, this really isn't... Just tell me what I did." My voice was steady now. Cold. "Tell me what I did that was so terrible that my own family doesn't want me around for Christmas." "It's not like that." But he sounded miserable. Guilty. "Then what is it like, Garrett? Explain it to me like I'm stupid, because clearly I'm missing something." He exhaled slowly. "They're announcing something on Christmas. Something big, and they thought it would be easier if it was just us." "Just us," I repeated. "You mean just them and you." "Vanessa, what's the announcement?" But I already knew. Deep down, I'd known since I saw those papers on the coffee table. "It's the house, isn't it? They are giving you the house." The silence told me everything. "They're not giving it to me," he said, finally. "It's more complicated than that. It's a trust situation, and I'm not in it. There are reasons, good reasons. They're going to talk to you about it after the holidays, explain everything. After the holidays. After you all celebrate together without me." I laughed, and it sounded unhinged even to my own ears. Do they even realize what they're doing? Do they understand that they're choosing you over me? Nobody's choosing anyone over... Yes, they are. I was shouting now. They're literally excluding me from Christmas to celebrate giving you their house. How is that not choosing? "The house needs work," Garrett said, and he sounded defensive now. "Foundation issues, electrical problems, it's practically falling apart. I'm going to live there and manage the repairs. That's why they're doing it this way. It makes financial sense. You haven't paid rent in 4 months. That's different." "How? How is it different? I'm the one who's been stable. I'm the one who's been there every Sunday, every holiday, every time they needed anything. And you float from failure to failure, and somehow you get the family home." "Maybe that's why." Garrett said quietly. "Maybe you don't need it like I do." I hung up. I actually threw Mira's phone across the room. It hit the couch, thankfully. And then I collapsed onto the floor and cried harder than I had since I was a child. Because he was right, in the worst possible way. They thought I didn't need them. They thought because I was successful and independent that I didn't need my family, didn't need to be included, didn't need to matter. Christmas Eve was a Thursday. I spent it wrapping presents I wouldn't be giving. The cashmere scarf, a vintage tool set I'd found for my father, a first edition book for Garrett, even though he probably didn't deserve it now. I wrapped them beautifully with cloth ribbons and handwritten tags, and then I stacked them in my coat closet where I wouldn't have to look at them. Mira invited me to her family celebration, but I couldn't do it. I couldn't sit at someone else's table and pretend to be cheerful while my own family was 30 miles away, tossing their decision to erase me from their future. I went to bed at 9 p.m. on Christmas Eve, took a sleeping pill, and prayed I wouldn't wake up until December 26th. But I woke up at 7 a.m. on Christmas morning, because habits are hard to break, and my body still thought it was Christmas. The apartment was silent. No smell of cinnamon rolls or coffee. No sound of wrapping paper tearing or my father's terrible jokes. Just me and the winter sunlight coming through the blinds. I made coffee, I sat on my couch in my pajamas, and I stared at my phone, waiting for it to ring. It didn't ring. 9 a.m. became 10, became 11. I checked Instagram, a mistake, and saw that my cousin Heather had posted a photo from her family's morning. Normal people doing normal Christmas things. I checked Facebook, a bigger mistake, and saw my high school friend Rachel posting about her chaotic, beautiful, loud family breakfast. My family was having breakfast right now, too. Probably my mother's famous French toast.
probably sitting around the table I'd sat at 1,000 times, laughing and passing syrup and being a family. Without me. At noon, I did something I swore I wouldn't do. I got dressed, got in my car, and drove to my parents' house. I wasn't going to go in. I just needed to see it. Needed to confirm that this was really happening, that I wasn't losing my mind. There were 3 cars in the driveway, my parents' sedan, Garrett's truck, and this was the part that broke something fundamental in me, my Aunt Lydia's SUV. They'd invited extended family. This wasn't just immediate family. This wasn't just about the house announcement. They'd invited my aunt and uncle and probably my cousins too, and they still hadn't invited me. I sat in my car at the end of the street for 20 minutes just staring at that house. The house I'd grown up in. The house where I'd learned to ride a bike in the driveway. Where I'd had every birthday party until I turned 13. Where I'd come home to after college graduation and my mother had made my favorite meal. The house that apparently belonged to Garrett now. I was about to leave. I swear I was about to just drive away and let it go when the front door opened and people started coming out. My Aunt Lydia first, then my Uncle Ray, then my cousins Marcus and Beth. They were carrying presents, laughing. Marcus was wearing a ridiculous Christmas sweater and Beth was holding what looked like a pie. And then Garrett came out. And my mother had her arm around him, and they were smiling like he just won the lottery. I got out of my car. I didn't decide to do it. My body just moved. Vanessa! Beth saw me first. Her smile faltered. Oh my God, what are you... Everyone turned. The laughter died. My mother's face went pale, then flushed red. Garrett looked like he wanted to dissolve into the driveway. I walked toward them slowly, and I could feel something cold and powerful settling in my chest. Clarity, maybe, or just the final death of hope. "Merry Christmas," I said. My voice sounded normal, almost cheerful. "Looks like quite a party." "Vanessa, sweetheart," my mother started. "Don't." I held up my hand. "Just don't. I didn't come here for excuses." My father had appeared in the doorway. He looked old and tired and sad, but not surprised. He knew I would come. He'd probably told them I would come. "You should have told me," I said. I wasn't yelling. I was too far past yelling. If you wanted to cut me out, if you wanted to give everything to Garrett, if you wanted to reshape this family without me in it, you should have just told me. You should have given me the dignity of honesty. "Nobody's cutting you out," my Aunt Lydia said, and she looked genuinely confused. "Vanessa, honey, this is just about the house." "It's never just about the house." And there was the yelling. "It's about every phone call that went to voicemail, every vague answer, every time you made me feel crazy for wanting to know what was happening in my own family. It's about sitting alone in my apartment this morning while you all had Christmas without me." "We were going to call you later," my mother said. Her eyes were wet, but I couldn't let that soften me. Not now. "We were going to explain everything. We didn't want to do it on the phone." "So you did it by not inviting me at all?" I looked at each of them. My family. These people I'd loved my entire life. Do you know what that felt like? Do you have any idea? Garrett stepped forward. "Vanessa, I'm sorry. I really am. This got out of hand and we should have what?" I turned on him. "You should have included the daughter who's been there for every single thing, the one who drove 4 hours each way to help paint, the one who called every Sunday."
While you were busy failing at cryptocurrency and whatever else, I was being the good daughter, the reliable one, and somehow that made me expendable. "That's not fair," my father said quietly. "Garrett needs this house. He needs stability. You have your own life, your career. So because I'm a mess, I don't matter?" The words hung in the cold air. My aunt had started crying. Marcus was staring at his shoes. Beth had her hand over her mouth. "You do matter," my mother said. "Of course you matter. We love you." Then why am I standing in the street on Christmas morning? My voice dropped to almost a whisper. If you love me, why wasn't I inside with everyone else? Nobody had an answer for that. Or maybe they did, and they just couldn't say it out loud. That love isn't the same as priority. That you can love someone and still choose someone else. That I'd been so good, so dependable, so stable, that they'd forgotten I was someone who needed to be chosen, too. "I'm done," I said. "I'm done pretending this is okay. I'm done making it easy for you to take me for granted." I looked at my mother. "You want to give Garrett the house? Fine. It's yours to give. But don't expect me to show up for Sunday dinners anymore. Don't expect me to drive 4 hours to help with projects. Don't expect me to be the daughter who's always there. Because I'm not going to be there for people who won't be there for me." "Vanessa, please." My mother reached for me. I stepped back. "I hope it was worth it. I really do. I hope whatever you celebrated in there today was worth losing me." I turned around and walked back to my car. Nobody followed me. Nobody called my name. They just stood there in the driveway, holding their presents and their pie, watching me leave. I drove home, and I did not cry. Not then. I felt too empty for tears. 3 hours later, my phone started ringing. First my mother, then my father, then Garrett, then my aunt. I let every call go to voicemail. I listened to the messages once, then deleted them. They all said variations of the same thing. "We're sorry, we didn't mean to hurt you, please let's talk about this, you're overreacting." That last one was from Garrett. I blocked his number after that. The day after Christmas, my mother showed up at my apartment. I watched her through the peephole, standing in the hallway with a Tupperware container, probably leftovers from the Christmas dinner I hadn't been invited to. She knocked for 5 minutes. She called my name. She said she wasn't leaving until I talked to her. I sat on my couch, 15 feet away, and waited her out. She left after 20 minutes. The next visitor was my father. 2 days later. He didn't knock as long. He left a note under my door. "We made a mistake. Please let us make this right." I threw it away without reading past the first line. Here's what I realized in the week between Christmas and New Year's. I'd spent 32 years auditioning for my family's love, proving I was worthy, being the good daughter, the helpful sister, the reliable one. And somehow, in all that trying, they'd taught me that they didn't need to try back, that I would always be there, no matter what, that they could forget me, exclude me, choose someone else, and I'd still show up on Sunday with a smile. I was done auditioning. New Year's Eve, Mara dragged me to a party. I didn't want to go, but she'd been patient with me for a week, and I owed her. At midnight, surrounded by strangers, counting down, I made myself a promise. This year, I would only give my energy to people who gave theirs back. I would stop proving my worth to people who should already know it. My phone rang at 12:03 a.m. My mother, probably calling to wish me a Happy New Year. I sent it to voicemail and turned back to the party. It's been 3 months now since that Christmas. My parents have tried everything. Calls, texts, emails, even a letter from my father that was actually quite beautiful and sad. Garrett sent me a long apology explaining the financial situation, the repairs needed on the house, how it really did make sense even though the execution was terrible.
Maybe it did make sense. Maybe they had good reasons for their decisions. But they never had a good reason for excluding me, for making me beg for information about my own family, for celebrating without me and then acting surprised when I was hurt. I haven't blocked them completely. I read the messages, sometimes, but I haven't responded. I'm not punishing them exactly, I'm just done making it easy.
If they want me in their lives, they're going to have to show me I matter. Not just say it. Show it. Last week, I got a call from a number I didn't recognize. I almost didn't answer, but something made me pick up. Vanessa? It was Beth, my cousin. Please don't hang up. I'm listening, I said. I just wanted you to know what they did was wrong. What we all did, really, because we went along with it. I should have said something. I should have called you. She paused. You were right about all of it. Thank you, I said quietly. That means more than you know. Are you ever going to forgive them? I looked around my apartment, my space, that I'd made beautiful and comfortable and mine. I don't know, I said honestly. Maybe, someday. But they're going to have to meet me halfway. I'm done walking the whole distance alone. We talked for an hour. She told me that Christmas Day had gotten very uncomfortable after I left, that my aunt had demanded to know why I hadn't been invited, that there had been a fight, that my mother had cried for hours. Good, I thought, then immediately felt guilty for thinking it. But also, good. Let them sit with what they did. Let them understand what it cost to take someone for granted. I'm okay now. Not healed. I don't know if you heal from something like this completely, but okay. I'd started therapy. I've been spending more time with Mira and other friends who actually prioritize me. I joined a book club. I'm learning to paint. Badly, but joyfully. And I'm learning something else too. That choosing yourself isn't selfish. That you can love your family and still hold them accountable. That sometimes the most important relationship you need to repair is the one with yourself. The part of you that learned to believe you had to earn love instead of just deserving it. My mother left a voicemail yesterday. Sweetheart, she said, and her voice was thick with tears. I know I don't deserve your forgiveness. I know we hurt you in ways I'm only beginning to understand. But I need you to know we miss you. I miss you. And I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I've listened to it 4 times. I haven't decided if I'm going to call back yet. But I might, eventually. When I'm ready. When, and if, they've proven that things will actually be different. Because here's what I know now. I am not less valuable because I'm stable. I am not less deserving because I'm independent. And I will never again let someone make me feel like I should be grateful for scraps of consideration from people who should be giving me their whole hearts. That Christmas morning, sitting alone in my apartment, I thought I was losing my family. But maybe what I was really doing was finding myself. And maybe in the end, that's the better gift.